Today is all about getting ready for Livin the Vida Okra. And today is all about planting okra seeds in anticipation of October Farm to School Month. So I'm going to just do some quick introductions before we dive in. I am Kimberly Koogler, the Farm to School Coordinator at Georgia Organics. I am here with two of my brilliant, lovely colleagues, Ashley Dowling and Kimberly Della. Ashley Dowling is the events manager at Georgia Organics, and Kimberly Della is the farm to school director at Georgia Organics. And in a little while, I will introduce you to John Davis, who is the farmer and owner here at Cosmos Farm. And speaking of Cosmos Farm, that is where we are presenting from today. We are at Cosmos Farm out in Carrolton, Georgia, which is about an hour west of Atlanta. And we are on Muskogee Creek land, as are probably many of you watching, if not all of you. Cosmos is on Muskogee Creek land. So the Muskogee Creek indigenous people occupied this land before they were forced off by the US government in the early 1800s. And on this land today, we're going to be planting okra seeds. And okra is indigenous to Africa. It is very much a part of African foodways and has been for a long time, and was so long before it was ever a part of Southern foodways. Okra came here via the transatlantic slave trade, and descendants of kidnapped Africans who were forced into slavery have told us that their ancestors actually braided okra seeds into their hair, along with rice and millet seeds, to bring with them. So those enslaved Africans began cultivating okra here in the South and cooking it. And that is how it became part of Southern foodways and culture that we are so familiar with. And we would be remiss if we did not make those acknowledgements and acknowledge that historical context that has brought us to what we're doing today and where we are. So thank you for taking a moment to acknowledge that with me. And now we're going to talk about why we're planting okra seeds today. So we're planting okra seeds not just because okra is a highly adaptable, super productive, super resilient, beautiful plant, but we are also planting okra seeds today because we are celebrating okra this October Farm to School Month. Is everything going okay over there? So for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with October Farm to School Month, it is a national celebration. And every year in Georgia, Georgia Organics coordinates a statewide campaign to get kids across the state planting, harvesting, tasting, cooking, eating, and learning all about a fruit or vegetable. And in years past, we have celebrated turnips, kale, squash, carrots. And this year is all about okra. We will be Livin La Vida Okra in 2021. I think that the slides have caught up to where we are now. So the goal of Livin La Vida Okra is, like I said, to get kids all across Georgia planting okra, taking care of it, harvesting it, tasting it, cooking it, eating it, and learning all about okra. And okra has a very rich history. So to participate in Livin La Vida Okra, all you have to do is sign up, and it is completely free. And once you sign up, you get access to this really robust online resource toolkit that we've created. And the reason we ask you to sign up, even though it's free, is because we need to collect some data for grant reporting purposes and also to kind of assess the impact of this program. So please do sign up. We collect data like where you are in the state, how many students you're reaching, and what activities you plan on doing. And it's very easy to sign up. You just go to bit.ly/livinthevita Okra, which may be on the screen, or will be soon. And answer the questions that you see on the screen, hit sign up, and then that will trigger an automatic email that will contain a password that you can put in to access the online resource toolkit. And in that toolkit, you will find a bunch of lesson plans, standards-based lesson plans that are centered on Okra, Okra activities, fact sheets, and recipes. And the recipes this year I'm particularly excited about because all of our recipes actually came from fellow Georgia farm to school stakeholders like yourselves. All right, so I think we may be experiencing a little hiccup with the screen sharing. Okay, so sorry for the slow connection, but Kimberly, Della, Donna is about to show you the web page where you can sign up for Livin the Vida Okra. While she is getting that set up, you can probably see behind me, I'm kind of right in front of an okra patch. So hopefully you can see some of that behind me. Okay, great. So here is the Farm to School homepage. And we are going to go to Livin La Vida Okra. And then this is where you enter your information, answer a few questions, and hit sign up. And then once you hit sign up, check your email again because you'll get a confirmation email and you'll also get an email containing your password. Kimberly is going to put in the password to get into the online resource toolkit, and this is what that toolkit looks like. So there's fact sheets, recipes, lesson plans. Exactly. Great. So I should also let you know that the first 300 people to sign up have the option to be mailed a resource packet that contains okra seeds, some washable okra tattoos, and some printed materials. And we're trying to prioritize getting those resources to people who most need them. So if you feel like you have the means to get those things on your own, you can select that we can pass your packet along to somebody else. So just make note of that. And yeah, I think now we're going to launch a poll to see how many of you have already signed up. We already did that. Great. Do you know how many people have already signed up?
3 people signed up and 7 people are going to sign up soon.
7 of you are going to sign up soon. That's great news. Did you happen to put the sign up link in the chat? Kimberly is going to put the link in the chat where you can go to sign up. Okay, so when you sign up, you will get access to our How to Grow Okra guide. It's in the fact sheets section of the resource toolkit. And that's what I'm going to go over a little bit right now. So I'm going to talk about when, where, and how to plant okra. So when do you plant okra? Right now. Now is the perfect time to plant okra. So okra loves the heat and the sun, and it needs the soil to be nice and warm, and all of those conditions are here today. So definitely plant your okra as soon as you can. You can wait. You can plant it later this summer too, but the sooner you plant it, the more okra you're going to be able to harvest. So I encourage you to plant your okra seeds very soon if you haven't done so already. And in general, in Georgia, you can usually start planting okra around the end of April and all through the summer, depending on where you are in the state and when your last freeze is. But that is general rule of thumb. And where should you plant okra? You should plant okra where it's going to get full blast sun all day long and where it has plenty of space. So okra can grow to be quite tall and branches out pretty big depending on which variety you're growing. So just make sure that you're planting it where it has plenty of space and full sun all day. And otherwise, it's not very fussy. And if you maybe don't have a lot of in-ground space, or maybe you don't have a raised bed and you're doing containers, you can plant okra in containers, but you should try to get okra varieties that are dwarf varieties. Is everything okay? Okay. Okay, so for example, this Cajun Jewel variety is a dwarf variety. And so it is good to, or it's okay to plant this variety in a container. And I don't know if you can see, but this container is very large. It's probably 20 gallons at least. I would probably not plant in a container smaller than this. You maybe could get away with it, but definitely choose dwarf varieties of okra for container growing. So planting okra is very easy. The seeds are planted at 1/2 inch to 1 inch deep. Doesn't have to be exact. And one thing to note about okra seeds is that because of their hard outer shell, they're notoriously pretty slow to germinate. So to speed up the germination process, you can soak them overnight before you plant them, but you don't have to do that. So I didn't actually soak these okra seeds last night, and they will germinate just fine. So I'm going to just make a hole about as deep as up to my first knuckle on my finger, like right here, and then I'll do another one like over here on the other side. Couple seeds in, and if they both germinate, then I can thin one out, and more than likely one of them will germinate. So I should get 2 plants in here, and just lightly cover it up. All right, and then anytime you plant seeds or transplant seedlings, you want to water. So we brought a watering can out here. And this is a pretty deep container, so we could water this for a while, but I'm just gonna get the surface wet here. Okay. So we planted our okra seeds. They should germinate in a few days. It's certainly warm enough. And I forgot to mention and wanted to mention that you can also transplant okra. Okra is one of those special plants that can be direct seeded or transplanted, but it does prefer to be direct seeded because its root system just prefers to not have to move once it's seeded. So, and since we're already here in full summer, you can just go ahead and direct seed your okra seeds to wherever you're going to be growing them. All right, so once we've planted our okra seeds, we need to take care of them. And it's important just to keep the soil well watered until they germinate. And then after that, just check the soil with your finger every once in a while and try to keep it about as moist as a wrung out sponge. Keep the area around your little okra babies free of weeds so they don't have to compete for sunlight or water. And they're pretty low maintenance after they germinate. You don't have to do much for them. So once you start seeing flowers on your okra plants, I don't know if you can see behind me, maybe you can see that. Or anyway, once you start seeing flowers on your okra plants, you're about to see okra pods too. So once they start flowering, that means they're almost about to make pods. And once they start putting out pods, you're going to have to start harvesting pretty frequently. I would recommend checking your okra plants daily, or at least every other day, because the thing about okra pods is that they grow really fast. So one day they may be this big, and then the next day they might be this big. So it's important to harvest them while they're still tender, because if they are left on the plant too long, they get pretty woody and then they're tough to chew and not as tasty. So there's actually one ready to harvest right here, if you can see. And you can, usually you can just, sometimes you can just snap the pods right off the plant. Or you can use scissors. There's another one over here. I'm going to see if I can snap this one. Let's see. Oh, well, kind of. And there's another one right here, see, that we could harvest. But if I know I'm going to harvest tomorrow, then I might just leave that one to get a little bigger. But it's fine to harvest that one today too. So generally 2 to 4 inches is usually the ideal length of the pod for nice tender okras to eat. If that also depends on the variety. So some varieties grow longer than that and are still tender. With this variety, this is the Clemson spineless variety. This is pretty perfect, this length. They'll be nice and tender, still in full flavor too. And if it happens to be particularly rainy, do grow fast. So sometimes they can get longer and still be tender. So just, you know, you can kind of feel like when okra is woody, it just feels really hard. It doesn't really give when you squeeze the pod. So another thing to note about harvesting okra is that it has a tendency to make skin itch really bad. So I usually, like, if I'm going to go through this whole bed of okra to harvest okra, I would put on what I call an okra shirt, which is just, you know, like a simple long sleeve cotton shirt and over whatever I'm wearing, and then some gloves, and then I'm ready to go harvest a bunch of okra, and I will save myself from the okra itch.
Kimberly.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat. How often does okra need to be watered?
Okay. So okra needs probably about 1 inch of water a week. The thing about okra is that it's so resilient and pretty drought tolerant that you don't have to worry too much about it. So don't not water it. But like if you're getting rain weekly, then it's probably fine. But yeah, like general rule of thumb is about 1 inch of water a week. While it's flowering, it tends to need more water, and then before it germinates. So you do want to make sure that you keep the soil nice and moist until it germinates. That does need to be well watered until it germinates. So hopefully that answers your question. And now we're actually going to get to watch a short and sweet little video that Little Ones Learning Center kindly made for us and shared with us. So Little Ones Learning Center, if you don't already know, is an early learning center in Forest Park in Clayton County, south of Atlanta. They are a 3-star quality rated early learning center, and their mission is to provide a safe, equitable, and quality experience for children as they inspire creativity, cultivate growth, and nurture their diverse community. They have an excellent farm to early care and education program and are one of our longtime partners, and we love them. And so Kimberly is about to start this video that they made, and we wanted to let you know that it is actually split into 2 videos because they were interrupted by an airplane that flew over in the middle. So take it away.
We're having a great morning at Little Ones, and with me I have Georgia Pre-K. Last week we planted okra in this bed, and here we can see all the little seedlings coming up. So we can see all that we planted is starting to come out of ground. Nope, these 2, see, look, this one and this one is starting to come up. I think because they were planted deeper. See, look at this one. You see the tiny little neck of the seedling right there? That's all the okra that we planted last week. Yep, that one is starting to grow. So I want Carter to tell me how we plant seeds, because we went over this before, and I think he knows very well how we plant seeds. So like we did last week with the tomato plant, and we talked about the life of a tomato plant from beginning to end, I want you to tell us the life of okra. It's the same thing. So what do we do?
So, this is how you plant okra. So, you have to make a hole first.
Okay, let's do that then.
And then, you put the seed in the hole. And then, you have to cover it up. And then you have to put it with water. And then you have to wait.
Yep.
Till it grows.
Then you have to wait till it grows. So let's go ahead and get that started. Do exactly what you told us to do.
There's just a little bit of a delay with the signal, so give me a sec. Hopefully this will pick back up. Well, unfortunately, we are not going to be able to show the second video. Sorry. Oh, wait, hold on. I think it's working. No, it's not. Okay, sorry. So instead, we're going to find out how much y'all love okra. We'll launch this poll while we wait. So on a scale of no, absolutely not, to I love it so much, I want to propose.
Okay, so I think that Kimberly just launched a poll. We would love to know how much you all love okra. So you see that poll? Go ahead and rate your love for okra from I think it goes from 1 to from 1, which is a hard pass, up to 5 that you love it so much you would marry it. And apologies if that video didn't show. I think we have discovered that Kimberly is having some connection issues over there in that other field. So we'll have to share out that video afterwards, maybe. Hold on. All right. Can we see the results? All right. Well, I am excited to see how much y'all love okra later.
Hey, Kimberly, can you hear me?
Okay. This year. Good to know. So probably you just haven't had okra the way that you love it yet. And there are a million ways to prepare it. So you will try a way that you love it soon. All right, but now we are going to meet John. This is Farmer John Davis, who is the farmer and owner of Cosmos Farm. And he's going to show us today how we plant okra here at Cosmos. But first, I have a few questions for you, John. How much do you love okra? On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being hard pass, no thank you, and 5 being you would propose marriage to it.
I'm an absolute 5 on okra. I love okra.
John is ready to spend the rest of his life with okra, as am I. Great. Why do you like okra so much?
There's just so much you can do with it. You can eat it raw, pickle it, saute it. It's just, I like the texture of it. It's crunchy. Adds good texture to something you're cooking. I love everything about it.
I agree with all of that. And do your kids like okra?
They do. They like it raw, actually. They like to come out, pick their own okra and snack on it raw.
Wow. Did y'all hear that? There is hope. Okay. And what is your favorite way to eat okra?
Probably pickled. I like it pickled.
Good choice. Do you make your okra pickles, or where do you get your okra pickles?
I do not make my own pickles. I have some customers and friends from some of the farmers markets we do. I'll give them a couple bushels of okra every year, and they'll return about 50 or 75 jars of pickled okra.
So pickled okra all year long.
All year.
Wow, that's the way to do it. I need you to hook me up with some okra pickles.
No problem.
Okay. So how long have you been growing okra?
About 12 years.
Wow.
Growing okra.
So you really do love it.
I do.
Okay. So what do you like about growing okra?
I like that it's pretty easy. You can just water it and it'll do its own thing as long as it gets enough water and sun and space. Just keeps coming. It keeps producing okra pods that you just keep cutting over and over again. So it's a pretty easy thing to grow.
It's a very generous plant. Gives a lot. All right. Do you have any interesting okra stories you could share with us about your experience growing okra?
Sure, I have a couple. There's a time I was apprenticing and picking okra, and I forgot to put on long sleeves, and I got what we call the okra itch, which is a terrible itch on your arms when the okra spines get into your skin. So I had to run out of the field and dunk my upper body into some water. So that was an interesting experience. And another time out here, we were picking okra and we had a rat snake about head high in one of our rows that was just hanging out that we ran into.
How was it head high? Was it floating?
No, okra plants are very tall and they have strong stems, and the snakes can get up there and like to hang out up there. It's kind of like a jungle atmosphere when you're picking up.
It just wanted to say hi to you because you're so handsome.
That's right. I guess so.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing those stories with us. We'd love now to see what you're going to do with this tool.
Sure.
What is this? What is this tool?
This is an earthway seeder. Pretty important for any small farm to have if you need to seed, direct seed rows of crops and directly into the ground. This is an excellent tool for that.
How long have you had it?
I've had this for about 12 years. They last a long time.
Wow.
It's a great tool.
Cool. All right. So yeah, he's going to show us now how he plants okra seed with this earthway seeder.
Sure. This is Clemson spineless organic okra seed you get from High Mowing Organic Seed Company. It's a great seed company we use a lot. And I'm just going to fill up my seeder about halfway so it's not over full. And then get the tool ready. So I want to make sure the seed's going to come out by spinning this wheel, which you can see back here, has a belt that turns the disc that picks up the seed and then drops it all the way down, and it's going to go into the soil. So pretty simple tool, very effective and efficient. I can also set how deep I want the seed to go by adjusting this. For okra, I usually do about 1/2 inch, but it can be deeper than that.
1/2 inch to an inch.
Yeah, it can be about 1/2 inch to an inch. I tighten this and I'm ready to go.
What does this chain do?
This just drags the soil in after the seed drops in. This covers it with soil.
Perfect. What a nifty tool.
It is.
All right. So John is going to demo how that works now for us.
All right, let's seed one bed of okra.
He's pretty good at making straight lines. Now he's going to make a second row coming down the other side of the bed. Magical. That's so cool. So that's a very quick and efficient way to plant a lot of okra.
It is. It's 200 feet of okra.
Wow. So we just planted 2 okra seeds in a container over there and watered them. How are you going to water this seed?
We use drip irrigation, so small lines of plastic that drip water right at the base of the plant. It's a very efficient way to water. We're not wasting any water.
That's what drip irrigation looks like. And so later y'all will lay down some drip tape.
Some drip on these beds and add it to the main line and water maybe once a week or every 2 weeks, depending on how much rain we're getting.
Cool. And then when do you think it'll be ready to harvest? When will we be eating this okra?
This okra will probably be about 60 to 90 days, somewhere in that range, depending on how much water we give it.
Cool. Well, thank you so very much for showing us how you plant okra at Cosmos Farm. We really appreciate your time and teaching us about the earthway seeder. I would like to open it up for questions now. Does anybody have any questions?
We do have a question about if you want to further explain the seeder, do you have to go back and cover the seeds once they're in the ground?
No, if this has done its job, so while I'm doing that, I'm watching the tool and I'm watching the seed come out behind this groove. and I'm making sure that the chain stays behind it and covers the soil as it goes. If this gets caught over this way, then I stop and adjust it. And if that's working, you don't have to recover it at all.
Cool. Any other questions so far?
What's a good soil if starting a small garden? Do you have any recommendations for starting your small garden soil?
Well, so if you're planting okra specifically, okra is not very fussy about soil. It's actually known as a scavenger crop, I think, because it has a really deep taproot and it has wide lateral roots. So it's really good at finding what it needs in the soil. So you can plant okra in pretty much any soil. Although adding compost to soil is always a good idea, whatever you're planting. So John added compost to this bed before planting in it to amend it a little bit and make it, nice and healthy for the okra. But if you're just talking about soil in general for starting a small garden, I guess it would depend on if you're doing a raised bed, if you're doing it in the ground, or if you're doing it in containers. If you're doing it in the ground, you can probably just use your native soil, maybe get it tested first for what's the word I'm looking for? Toxins, and then add compost to it. Usually you can get away with just 50% native soil, 50% compost, just mixing them together. Or you can buy bags of topsoil at your local nursery or hardware store and add compost to those. I found that they do need some help, just using topsoil straight from the store isn't always enough. So I would definitely recommend adding some compost and maybe an organic fertilizer, maybe earthworm castings, or some other kind of organic fertilizer to just pump it up with some nutrients. But also I would say about soil that it takes time to build up good soil. So I think you just kind of have to be patient, keep at it season after season, and keep amending it with compost and organic matter. Awesome. Did you say add anything to that?
No, maybe just for okra, a basic organic fertilizer. It doesn't require much. But yeah, compost and basic organic fertilizer is good.
Cool. We have a couple more questions in the chat. John, how much okra from what you just planted, how much okra will that yield?
It's a good question. Depends on a lot of factors. Depends on how much water it gets and how soon the first freeze comes. But it'll keep producing until it freezes, which out here is probably early November. But one bed, we probably will get, at least a couple 100 pounds out of it. Maybe a lot more than that, depending on how fast it's producing.
Awesome. And are there any pests that are susceptible to okra plants?
Not really. That's the great thing about okra is once you get it established, especially this time of year, there shouldn't be anything to bother it. But especially once it's about 6 to 8 inches up, you don't have to worry about it at all. There's no pests that come after it. Sometimes you get ants. Ants will crawl up and they want to taste some, but they don't do very much damage. They might eat a couple pods. But other than that, there's not much that bothers okra.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just so it's this climate that we live in is so perfect for it. I think and it's so resilient and adaptable. It just doesn't get stressed out very easily, which, stressed out plants usually attract pests. It's just a fantastic plant if you haven't gathered by now.
It is.
There are those little iridescent, what are those little iridescent beetles?
Beetles, yeah, I don't know.
But they don't really do much damage. Pests aren't a big problem for okra.
Awesome. Another question. We get a lot of rain in Georgia. How often do y'all recommend watering okra once it is planted and germinated?
Without rain, I would say water it once a week. Water it deeply once a week. With rain, you don't need to water it. If it rains, then you're good. This year we've gotten a lot of rain, so that means we have to work less on watering stuff. Nice.
The sky is an efficient waterer.
Best water.
The best water is free. I think we have time for a couple more questions. Are there any companion plants that you would suggest planting with okra?
I never have. Sometimes just because I like to do it that way, we'll put sweet potatoes near okra and let the vines kind of cover the okra and smother out weeds below it. Or I'll do some other vining crop that'll crawl into the okra beds where the stems are already high and smother weeds.
Right. Acts as ground cover.
It acts as a ground cover, yeah. So like sweet potato vines, which are right here, they can grow 30 feet long and they'll just smother everything out if you've hoed it once or twice, once it's fully grown.
And I think I have read that peppers and eggplants are good companions to okra. Also, you should keep in mind, since okra can grow to be pretty tall, whatever you plant next to it, could potentially be shaded a little bit by the okra, depending on the orientation. So like sometimes, or there have been times where we've actually been able to grow lettuce right next to the okra, usually when it's too hot for lettuce, but because it's getting shade from the okra.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to think about. If you want to provide shade to something, that would be good to plant next to it. So.
How far apart should each okra be planted?
Good question. Yeah, about a foot. So the way we seed here, we have to come back. Once it comes out of the ground, it's going to be right up next to each other. And we thin it out, which means we pull out all the plants we don't want. And we do it about 8 to 12 inches apart.
Great. All right. Can I plant okra in late July or beginning of August? Or I guess alternatively, like how late can folks plant okra here in Georgia?
That's a really good question.
Yeah, it depends on your frost zone. So what date you get your first freeze of the year. And for us, like I was saying, it's usually late October, early November. So you would just calculate backwards from your first freeze, at least 60 days. But if it's 60 days, you're not going to get much okra. Mm-hmm. So I would want it more like 75, 80, 90 days before your first freeze. And then you should get a good fit.
You're very good at answering these questions. Yes. And I was going to say that, as I said earlier in this presentation, the sooner you plant okra, the more okra you're going to be able to harvest. So you could wait longer to plant it, but you're just missing out on okra that you could be harvesting. So, and you have to keep in mind that things start to slow down in the fall because the days start to get a little shorter and it starts to cool down. And so, I would do exactly what John just suggested.
I think those are all the questions.
Cool. So I think it's time to launch our last poll. And hopefully Kimberly can do that. Cool. So we want to know how prepared y'all feel to grow okra this summer for October Farm to School Month. All right. Thanks for taking that poll. Kimberly is actually also going to put in the chat a link to an evaluation that we kindly ask for you to complete today. We need these evaluations for grant reporting purposes. And so we appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to complete that for us. And then I just want to remind y'all that if you haven't signed up for Livin La Vida Okra, please sign up today. I don't think we're quite at 300 signups yet. So if you sign up today, we'll be mailing you a packet of seeds and washable okra tattoos and some printed materials if you choose to have them mailed to you. Plant your okra seeds as soon as you can. Make sure you take pictures of your okra activities leading up to and during October, because we do have a fun social media contest that goes on during October, and we have great prizes. We do give out really good prizes. So we pick a winner every week of October to get a weekly prize. And at the end of the month, we have a grand prize winner, which is a really nice prize. So make sure you document your farm to school okra activities and participate in that contest. And then when you get signed up and access to that online resource toolkit that I was telling you about, you'll be able to plan on incorporating standards-based okra lessons into your curriculum this fall. And yeah, feel free to email me with any questions you have, any lingering questions or any questions that come up. We appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today.